What is up, guys? Mike Marlinski here with Wretched Sound. Welcome to the final episode of Wretched Sound Podcast Season 3, the Black Sabbath series. We're done with Sabbath studio albums, so we are ending the series with Heaven and Hell's one and only album, The Devil You Know, which was released in 2009, and it ended up being Dio's final studio performance before he sadly passed away from cancer in 2010. I've been really excited to talk about this album. Billie and I love this record so much, and we've brought it up several times over the course of the show, out of turn, of course, and we're excited to finally have a full-on discussion about it. So we hope you guys have enjoyed this series. For the few of you who've been following along, and hopefully more people catch on to this and listen and subscribe, once we have the full series up on YouTube for a while. This was a lot of fun to put together. I don't know what the next season is going to be. I don't know what the next discussion is going to be, but I'll be posting about it. Thanks for all your support. Hit the notification bell, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the like button, do all that stuff to help this YouTube channel grow. Thank you for 114 subscribers. We're small but mighty, and we're far from done talking about music on here, so let's just give Billie a call and jump into our discussion on The Devil You Know by Heaven and Hell.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Alright.
We made it. We made it to the finale. I'm so excited.
Yep.
So yeah, we love this album. I mean, I think we both really love this album. I think that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's no Headless Cross, but it's a damn good album.
Yes, it's a very good album.
Okay, well, I'm stoked. I'm ready if you are.
I'm ready.
She's ready. So I guess, we'll clear out the elephant in the room. This album ended up being Dio's final studio performance. How do you feel about The Devil You Know as Dio's send-off?
I think it's a solid send-off. I mean, it's a great album. He sounds great on it. There's nothing really to complain about. It's like there's nothing half-assed about it, especially on his part. Like, he sounds amazing. You would never guess that he was probably diagnosed with the cancer while they were recording this, sort of shortly beforehand.
Yep.
But you would never know it by the way. Which actually made him sound better.
Right. There was a certain grit and aggression on his vocals present on The Devil You Know that I didn't really hear on any Black Sabbath or Dio solo record, at least, or like Rainbow or Elf for that matter. Like, this was a very unique performance and a cool one to leave on. I think like my biggest gripe about the whole thing is that we never got another one. We never got another Heaven and Hell record. So that brings me to my next question, actually. Would Black Sabbath have released 13 if Dio were still alive today, or would we now have a Heaven and Hell catalog?
I think it would be both. I think 13 definitely would have happened.
Yep.
Because before that, when Black Sabbath got back together, they were talking about doing a new album with Ozzy. I feel like probably the biggest holdback, like whatever might have been holding it back, was probably more Ozzy, or probably more adequately to say Sharon.
Sure.
She controlled all the business decisions.
Yeah.
And I'm not criticizing that at all, because she's a very good business person.
Right.
She handles everything well. And I mean, nobody openly talked about it, but I'm sure anything holding it back was probably more her doing than anybody not watch. But if it wasn't for her holding it back, we might not have gotten a Heaven and Hell album.
Sure. Oh, that Sharon. But we don't, I don't know, we don't need a whole Sharon offshoot, I guess, but I think we both already expressed our opinions on Sharon Osbourne a handful of times. No, you're probably right, and like the big thing about 13 was the reunion and the reunion aspect of it, especially getting Ozzy and Tony Iommi back together. So yeah, I mean, if not solely as a business decision, yeah, both probably would have happened. That's a good point. So thoughts on the bluntly satanic album cover based on the painting by Hogginson entitled Satan? An interesting note, the alternative cover simply features the winged devil image presenting the star, which has appeared on many Sabbath releases over the years, particularly CDs. But that one's a Walmart exclusive, so I'm proud to say I have the one that depicts the painting. So how do you like this album cover? I love this album cover.
I love it too. I think it's an amazing album cover.
It's fucking badass, and it's like downright gory. It matches the music perfectly because like this is a particularly aggressive album, and like that's a super aggressive album cover. Like it's almost like horror movie quality, and I love that for the band. It makes me wish though that like they'd raise the bar a little on like past Black Sabbath album covers, but I mean then things just wouldn't be the same. So so critics most commonly state that The Devil You Know is better than Dehumanizer, but not as good as Heaven and Hell or Mob Rules. And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a really good album. I think it would at least be on par with Dehumanizer. I think there's something, like, I can see why people say that, and sometimes I think it has to do with the freshness of an album. I mean, even though it's older now, I think at the time when people are reviewing it, it was like, this is a new Black Sabbath album, but, you know, even though they called it something else, you know?
Sure.
And I think the newness of that kind of can make something seem better than it actually is, just because it's something fresh, and it's really good. But I think, to say it's better than Dehumanizer, I think there's some aspects of Dehumanizer that make it better than The Devil You Know.
Yep.
I think it's got a little more, but again, this is all opinion. I'm not really saying one's matter-of-factly better than the other. But personally, for me, I like the way Dehumanizers doesn't have the consistency as The Devil You Know. The Devil You Know is it's probably of the four albums the most consistent sounding one.
Yeah, right.
Which there's nothing really wrong with that, but the other three kind of all have some more like odd, distinct moments about them, which I think make them more memorable albums. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I like it more than the album Heaven and Hell. Right. Which we expressed that when we did that album about how I think it's remembered more fondly than how good it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of bias that comes from the order of events, and there is a lot of hindsight bias too now with Dio having passed, so it goes both ways. I don't know. I think like Dehumanizer's my favorite Sabbath record, and well, probably on par with Headless Cross. They're probably tied for first for me now, but after going through all this, but I think The Devil You Know falls a little short to Dehumanizer for pretty much exactly what you just said, because Dehumanizer like had more memorable songs, like more memorable singles, and like that. I've just known of that album for a lot longer. Like I've spent more time with that record, so that's me being a little biased. And I don't know, but you're right. Like Dehumanizer and even Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, like they're more diverse as records internally because they're Sabbath records, and that was kind of like a Sabbath staple, having diverse records musically. But no, I agree with you. Like of the three that Dio did under the Sabbath name, Heaven and Hell is probably my least favorite. And I think we already talked about that. I don't want to say it's an overrated album, but like we said before, like the first 4 tracks on Heaven and Hell are a lot more memorable than the second half of the album. But yeah, Devil You Know is solid, and it's consistently aggressive and very unique and like standalone. But sure, I think I find Dehumanizer superior for sure. What are your top tracks on The Devil You Know? Mine are, you said we actually have for the first time ever, we have different favorite songs. So mine are Adam and Evil being a kick-ass opener, Fear because it has my favorite main riff, my favorite chorus, and some of my favorite lyrics on the record. And I love Rock and Roll Angel because it sticks out like a sore thumb with that sliding like octave chord riff that I really enjoy. So what are your favorite tracks on the album?
Well, my absolute favorite is Follow the Tears. I think the main riff is killer. I love like the little string or like if it's keyboards doing strings part in the beginning. I think it just sounds great. It's just like Dio's vocals on it are just fucking amazing. Breaking into Heaven, same thing. Just like the riffs in that song are just so fucking heavy, and Dio's vocals on it are just like super memorable, and just really just like everything about that song just comes together. And I think Breaking into Heaven kind of really captures every like small moment on the album I like. Is there's some kind of aspect of it in Breaking into Heaven, which probably makes it a good closing track too for that reason. And then I really like Bible Black, which was a single. I think it makes a lot of sense that it was a single. I think it's really catchy. The opening melodic guitar part is really good. Tony Iommi does them rarely, and they're always spot on and great, and Bible Black is no exception.
No, Bible Black is a great song. Breaking into Heaven is a great... They're all great songs. Like, I don't have any, like, take it or leave it tracks on this record at all. Like, I love every song on the album, so... And no, I agree with you about Breaking into Heaven. I think there were a lot of conscious, like, artistic decisions as to why that album was the closer and why that song was written the way it was. So, for sure. So, we talked about, like, the aggression and the grit already, but was there something special going on with Dio's vocals on this record, or is this hindsight bias because it was his final record?
I'm not sure because I don't really know where his head was at. Like I said earlier already, I have a feeling he probably was diagnosed with his cancer, probably around the time of recording this, which I think, when you get something like that, as hopeful as you might be, in your back of your mind, you feel like this is it, which could make you really even put more effort into something if you're an artist, because you might have a feeling like this could be the last thing I ever do.
Right, yeah.
I don't really know, because I also feel like Dio, generally speaking, has a lot, like, all his recordings are very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could just be time, too,
Yeah.
Like, maybe because, he never really stopped, so maybe he just learned more along the way. I guess, without knowing part of that, we'll never really know the answer. But he does do exceptionally good vocals on this, even for Dio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a unique record, and I don't think that's entirely because of hindsight bias. I had to look it up because I was curious. I know he was diagnosed in the winter of 2009. So, however, that falls into the timeline of like the recording and touring and whatnot. I was curious about it because I had just read it right before I called you, but I forgot. Definitely played a part. Yeah, I kind of said this already. About not having any Take It or Leave It songs, and I don't know if you do, but I don't think there is one Take It or Leave It song on the album, and it's consistently been in my regular listening rotation. Like, I don't want to say every day, but this song, or this album, has been in my regular listening rotation for about a year now. Since right around the time I started thinking about doing a Sabbath series, so, I listen to this all the time. So, are there any songs that you could take or leave on Heaven and Hell's The Devil You Know?
No, I agree with you completely. It's just like a solid album. Yeah. There's no like bad songs. Like I do have some of my favorites, but it's a very good. And that's one of the things about the consistency of the album too. That's one of the parts where that plays well into it because it makes it a very easy. Just you start the album, you listen to it all the way through.
Any favorite lyrics that jump out at you?
No.
No? Just the whole thing's pretty solid. There's one line in Fear that always like it whenever I think of this record, these are the first lyrics I think of, and it's in Fear, and he says, if there's a hell and Satan had a daughter, he must have sent her here to hide the flame. We're still afraid. Must be he taught her so well. We've seen the light, so why is it all the same? I don't know why. It's like, they're not even, like, particularly great lyrics. I think it's how he sings them. Dio sells a lot of lyrics to me, like, with melodies and patterns. You know, like, I enjoy a lot of the creativity behind his delivery, I guess.
His delivery on a lot of stuff. That's one of the reasons Follow the Tears is one of my favorites. Very simple, just the chorus of him repeating the title of the song.
Yeah.
But the way he executes that, with that guitar lead underneath it, and that riff, and that synth or those strings, it's awesome. It's so powerful.
Yep.
So maybe I do have a favorite lyric.
I think we just pinpointed it. Cool. Very cool. So, I never got to see Heaven and Hell live, but you have. I would love to hear all about the Toronto show with Megadeth.
It was amazing. They were fucking phenomenal. It was great because it was at, they always change the name of the arena there. It's the hockey arena.
Yeah.
And it was general admission, so I was on the floor. Like, when they announced that tour, I was like, I have to go. I've never seen the Black Sabbath Dio lineup play. I can't miss this.
Right.
And so I went, and it was just them playing all the songs from the other 3 albums, because the Heaven and Hell album didn't come out yet. And it was just like, it was amazing. Like, Dio was so, I was lucky, because I in my later years towards the end, I made it to see Dio twice. Once solo when he went for Iron Maiden, and then that show.
Right.
And, they did not disappoint at all. And it was, like, just amazing being, like, so close and on the floor and watching, like, Iommi and Peter Butler play and fucking Dio. It was incredible.
Wow. Did they play... Like, did they stick to, like, the more popular songs on the 3 Dio Sabbath albums, or did they play, like, the vast majority of the Dio years?
I think they played the majority. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to remember exactly. But I remember they played a very well-rounded set. I didn't leave disappointed with anything I heard.
Right. About how long was the set? I mean, I know it was a while ago, so.
Yeah, it had to be about an hour and a half.
No, that's great. That's perfect. That's
Which was, cool. Yeah, because I know it definitely didn't seem too long. But honestly, they could have played the entirety of all 3 albums, and I wouldn't have felt like it was too long.
Sure.
you know, so.
Oh, I know, and it's so unique compared to the rest of the Sabbath catalog. Like a lot of people out there have complained about the Dio years because it sounds like a different band, and that's one of the things that I love about it. Like, whatever band that is, the Dio years with Sabbath, I love that band. That era of Sabbath is incredible to me, and I guess for that reason it makes sense that they essentially renamed the band for this one album that we're discussing right now. But it's so it's very standalone, but at the same time it's not, because it is almost like a continuation of like if those 4 records stood on their own and those were all under the name Heaven and Hell, and it went Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, Dehumanizer, and The Devil You Know, like, that progression would make sense as a band to me. So, yeah, I can't say enough about how much I love Dio, Sabbath, and Heaven and Hell more than anything else the band has done. But, yeah, I wish I had seen that. I wish I had taken the opportunity. I never got to see Dio live in any capacity. It just never worked out. No, it's a shame. But, no, that's cool. That's really cool. I can only imagine. Hey, how was Megadeth that night? Just out of curiosity.
Fucking awesome. Megadeth's always awesome.
Yeah.
Downplayed too, but I got there too late.
Okay.
I can't say I really care.
Yeah. I mean, did you have anything to add? Because we kind of blew through the whole thing in about 20 minutes.
But yes, I do have something to add.
Let's hear it.
And wait 1 second. I think my Bluetooth disconnected again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. So, this is kind of a little off topic from the Heaven and Hell album, but on topic with it because it's something I couldn't help but focus on while listening to it because of all of our discussions about Black Sabbath over the past few months.
Yep.
And I don't know if we've said this quite straight up, but having gone through all of this and listening to everything, with so much analysis, I have to say that, as much as people want to focus on the singers of Black Sabbath, I think every singer through the years has brought something cool and unique and have made great albums of Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
But the missing link that everybody undersells and doesn't acknowledge is Bill Ward.
Yeah.
And it really stands out because the drumming's all right. But this and every album, like, the combination of Bill Ward and Geezer Butler and the more interesting rhythm parts they put on the albums is the one thing that's missing from everything.
Right.
Like, when Bill Ward's gone, that aspect of the band is gone. Even though Geezer Butler has been on a couple of the albums, what Bill Ward and him bring out with each other is just undeniable.
Yeah, the rhythm section on the earliest Sabbath records is so... Yeah, like the rhythm section on the earliest Sabbath albums especially is so special.
I mean, it's just like, as amazing as Tony Iommi's riffs are, it's what really brings it out and adds the uniqueness of a band. Where something like this, like, again, like, I like that. I like so many of those Black Sabbath albums, but it's like, you have strong vocalists, you have strong guitar playing, and then you have a good rhythm section. Where on those early albums, you had a fucking great rhythm section that really brought a uniqueness to the sound and really brought things to another level. And I think that's the thing that's missing. And, without Bill Ward, man, he was a creative drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And that can't be denied.
Well, he's very good at quickly figuring out. He's a very decisive drummer, and he's very good at figuring out very quickly what is best for the song. He's a good song drummer. So yeah, he's not like, he's capable of flash. We've heard it, but he is largely in the pocket, and his choices are very good. He always does what's best for the bass line, best for the riff, best for the song, whichever came first in the writing process, rather. And, no, it's you can really hear it when 4 or 5 minds get together and click just the right way. It's audible. And, yeah, there are subtle things that are missing that largely affect the whole when you listen to all these Sabbath records one after the other. So, yep, full agree. And again, that I can't say it enough that the rhythm section, Geezer and Bill, they always stood out the most to me on those first few Sabbath records. So it's they were a huge part of Sabbath having the initial impact that they did on the world.
And I think people forget that a lot because they're just like, well, this is not the same without the singer. It's like, well...
Yeah, it's always either the singer or it's Tony Iommi, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And, we need to really give a big shout out to Bill Ward and what he brought to the band. because man, nobody else has done what he did with it.
Bill Ward's a good singer. Speaking of singers.
Yeah, he's a good singer too. He is.
Right.
Yeah. It's so that's kind of like that's one of my biggest takeaways from the whole thing. And I don't know why, for some reason, I was really focused on that on this album. When I was listening to it this time around, I was just like, man, strumming's all right.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, the best comparison I can think of for it is, have you ever heard Bruce Dickinson's album, The Chemical Wedding?
No, there's one. What's the one with, I think it has Millionaire in the title.
Oh, there's Tattooed Millionaire.
Yeah, that is the only Bruce Dickinson solo record I've heard, unfortunately.
Well, his last solo record before he got back with Iron Maiden was The Chemical Wedding, which is a fucking amazing album. And Adrian Smith joined up with them, and so it sounds like an Iron Maiden album. It's
cool.
Better than most Iron Maiden albums, except for one thing. When you're listening to it, you're just like, this is almost the best Iron Maiden album, but the bass playing just isn't there.
Sure.
And that's kind of how I felt about this. I was just like, man, this album's almost perfect, but that drumming, like, none of it's bad, but it's just not exceptional.
No, you're like, there are some bands, there are a lot of bands out there where, like, it doesn't matter who's playing bass, you know what I mean? Because if that original bass player is bringing nothing to the table except root notes, it doesn't matter who fills that spot. Or, like, maybe someone could do something new and then completely blow that original bass player out of the water, and then it would matter, but that rarely happens. But, like, with a band like Iron Maiden, of course, like there's no replacing Harris, and with a band like Sabbath, you know, Geezer Butler and Bill Ward are both one of a kind, so like that, it's a lethal combination.
Right, exactly. That's like the closest thing I could come to for a comparison. It's just like how you have these things where it's just like you really, like, people who you know are good, but it's just like when they're kind of like eliminated from the equation, you're just kind of like, man, I really hear that difference.
Yeah, well, I guess that was your final thought. I mean, I was going to have a section, I was going to do, like, I don't know, I don't want to say, like, a Jerry Springer thing, but I was going to, like, suggest, like, final thoughts, because we're closing out the season at this point, and we just did, I know you weren't here for all of them, but, like, I just did 20 episodes on Sabbath, so this has been a ridiculous 10 months for me. I didn't expect it to take this long, but I'm glad it did, because it gave me a lot of time to just sit with the music. And that was the point, was to sit with the music. So, wow. Such an interesting band with a colorful history and just lots of... lineup changes aside, just lots of juicy drama and controversy and just, I don't know, just, like... The history of the band outside of the music is just as intriguing as the music, and the diversity on each album for album, kind of reflects, like, all these personal things that were going on in the band at each time. Like, I remember there was a song written by Ian Gillan about, I think it was crashing a go-kart at the practice space, and that ended up being one of the songs on Born Again, I think.
Yeah,
like, yeah. Just things like that just pop up out of nowhere. Like, you know, this song has this kind of a party vibe, and it's about this, like, and then you get into this depressive, doomy shit, and, you know, and they're known for that. Like, every major, I don't want to say major, because, like, it's not that big of a genre to begin with, but, like, any, like, known doom band that's active today would cite Black Sabbath first as an influence. But it's not just doom, it's like, you know, yeah, it's like doom and stoner metal, but, like, I think most metal bands in general just reference Black Sabbath, and, like, modern rock bands too. Like, they're just such a timeless, universal band. And it's like, you know, how you feel, we've said this a million times, but no matter how you feel about each album, like, they're all worth talking about, regardless of who's playing on them, who's singing on them, you know?
Yeah.
Super
There's a lot
cool.
of great moments on, like, almost every album.
Yeah.
Except Cross Purposes.
Except Cross Purposes! Oh, God, that's another thing that changed. That's another thing that changed for me, because when we started this, Dehumanizer was my undisputed favorite, and now Headless Cross is up there. And also, when we went into this, before the first episode, Forbidden was my least favorite, and now it's unquestionably Cross Purposes. You know, I like Seventh Star more than Cross Purposes, and Seventh Star was more of a Tony Iommi solo record.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's really cool. It's really cool to, like, take a band with this much material and just binge it all.
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, there's just, like, so much going on, and again, the way we did it, you just notice so many, like, little details of every album that you didn't catch before, just casually listening to them.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get many plays per episode right now, but, like, if I want this to... Because there are a lot of really triggering keywords in these titles, in the episode titles, that will get engagement. So, like, my hope is that, you know, a few months down the line, a few people find the entire series on YouTube, and they're blitz stoned out of their minds, and they just go on the ride of their life. That's what I want.
Maybe we'll get something out of it.
Right. But, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm wrapped on this if you are.
Yep, I'm good. I mean, again, this album, this one went quick because Heaven and Hell is a pretty solid album. There's not much to really complain about with it. Because if somebody was concerned about how short it might seem, maybe you're relieved, maybe you're concerned. It's a solid album. The band was all older, so there wasn't really any drama to talk about.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. No fun history behind this one, but it's got a fucking solid album.
Yeah, like, yeah, Vinny, you know, it's a shame Bill Ward wasn't on it, but I mean, it's Vinny Appice, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Dio, and it's the Heaven and Hell lineup, basically.
Right, yeah.
From 1980. It's that same lineup, and they just, yeah, you're right, there's, like, no drama. It's just those four people getting together with some session musicians and cranking out some high-quality music. In the same vein as Black Sabbath, but again, more aggression, more grit, and just more focused, heavy doom riffing than probably on any other album.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, right off the bat, like, that opening riff, if you've never heard this album before, and you listen to the opening riff of the opening track, Adam and Evil, you hear that first riff come in, that riff is a perfect introduction to the entire record. Like, that's a great way to say this is what this record is going to be like most of the time. So if you like this 30 seconds of music, you're going to like the rest of the album, basically, is how I look at it.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
All right, well, this was a season. We did a thing. No, I'm stoked on it. I'm super happy that you were available to do as many episodes as you did, and let's do this again soon about a different band or a different topic or something. I don't know what the next season's going to be, but I'll let you know.
All right, thanks for letting me be a part of it. It was a lot of fun.
All right, thank you so much. Have yourself a good night.
Thanks, you too, Mike.
Bye-bye.